Morning, Chris. How you doing today?
Hi, Ron. Doing great. How about yourself?
Doing really well. Today's a little bit faster topic. This one should be a really fun one because we're going to talk about a little bit about pricing, but really about product comparison and a product comparison tool and how important it has to have on your site. So, I want you to tell me, what do you know about the industry and how important? What is the behavior of people today when it comes to shopping?
Well, I think if you look at the data, there are different studies, and basically, Forbes says that 72% of millennials price shop and 80% compare prices. Um, so, if you're wondering whether this is important, price comparison and pricing information where possible is really critical. And then there's also a UPS study that says 50%, 57% of shoppers will abandon a cart to price shop. So fundamentally, the data shows that this is a really key thing. And we know from our experience too, Ron, that this is just something that as a trend, as a buying group, and just the demographic change that is occurred, we have so many people that have ready access to pricing information and they
Yeah,
can compare, right?
yeah. Yeah, it's too easy. I mean, I can literally go on Google and just go best deal on X. It'll pop up, and right there, I can see four or five of them. I can compare the prices and I can click, and then I go do my research on that site. And so, a lot of my clients are like, well, what if I don't show the price? And it's like, well, if you don't show the price, they're never coming to your site. I mean, it's as important as SEO, driving traffic now. You have to show your price, you have to show your ratings. And traditionally that's for B2C and D2C sites, right? I mean, the B2B is a lot different because they're reaching out to me. We're establishing a contractual price and they get a price break and everything. And so price is very different for those type of buyers. For the B2B, the on-site comparison is the more important one, right? Where they're actually, they've already negotiated the best price with you. They're going to come buy from you. Now they have to find which product is the best, which one they're going to buy from potentially different vendors, especially if you have a marketplace, right? So let's kind of move on site now where we are on the actual website and consumers have to start looking. So what are some of the things that are important, and just let's talk about it, and we can even reference ours, and I'll even bring a couple screenshots up if we have to. But what are some of the things that are important to be able to do, and how does a person even engage comparison? Because we have a couple different ways to engage our comparison engine, right? So walk me through a user experience. You're on my site and you want to compare some items. How do you launch the compare, and how should a user be able, what's that UI UX look like?
That's a great question. So I would say, first of all, that is probably the most fundamental question to ask first is does a user even intuitively know that it's there? A lot of times that's the problem.
Yeah.
So normally it helps to have it as a portion or an area in the filtering on the sidebar in the catalog on each of the cards that shows a product result or a result that needs to, has the option to be compared. There can be a little icon that shows comparison or a drop down arrow that gives that as an option. And then typically on the product detail page, we also want the user to have a more obvious comparison option and even suggestions for them to compare. I think most people who are listening to this probably use Amazon quite a bit to make purchases. And Amazon is an industry sort of standard de facto where they actually show some comparisons for you by default. And so that kind of gets into the next piece, which is having the comparison itself, that UI, show the important things. And, typically that is, of course, what the details are, the attributes of that product. Of course, you want to see the name of it, the brand, the price, the ratings. These things are just fundamental. It may make sense to even show things like shipping and lead time and
Mhm.
inventory, um, as well as, of course, some of the detailed attributes. So, this is going to include some of the different options, the model, different sort of attributes may have ranges of features And so it may just show very plainly by showing the different attributes what the different feature comparison is, and that something is a superior product, has a better rating, and now I'm off to the races. And it helps to kind of get into the psychology of the user here a little bit, because a lot of times they don't really know the distinction between particular attributes. They might be an expert at certain parts of it, but not everything. And so we
Right.
also may want to give them the ability to kind of dig in and understand what that attribute is and why it is or isn't important to them. So there's a lot there. And basically, what it boils down to is just making it easy for the user to see there's a comparison there. And then, really, most of the time, I'm sure you would probably agree, we would at least want them to be able to look at several products so they can see which ones have better ratings, more reasonable lead time, and price. And, if we're at least doing that, and then if they're more sophisticated and they want to get into the features, which they probably do in most cases, we need that to be there too. What are your thoughts on that as well?
Yeah, I totally agree. Um, and again, since we have our own platform, I'll be talking about ours, not necessarily to promote it, but because I know it better, right?
Yep.
So I want to show a couple screenshots because Chris went through some really important things a minute ago that you guys, it probably flew so fast you didn't catch it. So first off, I want to show a screenshot here. This is just a traditional catalog. And you'll notice Chris was saying, first off, the compare if they don't know that it's there. And he made a comment about making it part of the filter. So you can kind of see on the filters here on the left-hand side that, you've got the search at the top, then you've got the categories and the attributes, but right there at the bottom, it's got its own compare. It can expand and you can see what products have been added. The next thing he said was in the catalog card. And so you can see on the catalog on the right now, if I hover over one of these products, you'll notice that there's some icons. And these icons would be things like I want to add to wish list, or this is out of stock. I want to add it to an in-stock alert. But one of the items is add to compare. One of the things that we also have in the UI UX, and I'm going to do it real quick. I'm going to click add to compare on product number one, and you can see that it added it to the comparison engine on the left in the filters list. And then if I go to a second product and add it to compare, not only is it going to add it to the compare on the left, but now that there are two items to compare, you'll notice the modal pop-up popped up and says, oh, you've got a couple items. Are you ready to compare? And if I want to add one more, I could say cancel, go to the third one here, click add to compare, and it'll pop back up and go, all right, you got three items. Do you want to compare them now? And so it's actively letting me know that, hey, you've added some items to compare. Is it time to compare? And it's reminded me to do that. And so it's helping that UI. The last one, and I'll just do it real quick here. I'm going to drill into a product. And this is what Chris called the product details page, right? There's information and details about the product. And you can see on the far right where the add to cart button is. We also have the more in your face buttons to add to wish list, and there's also an add to compare. So we've got multiple different avenues to make them aware of this feature and to find it, and then even to engage them that as soon as they add more than one product and there's items to compare, it auto initiates. I also want to show one other screenshot. We designed a custom website. We actually had a client call us because we specialize in UI UX, the tire store, and they asked us to completely change the way people buy tires. And one of the ways we did that is compare. So on the home screen here, and I'll just show this real quick. On the home screen, one of the things that we changed, because typically when you go to buy a tire, you put in your year, make, and model, and then it comes back and shows you 75 tires, and you have no idea which one to buy. In this case, what we're doing is we're changing the entire experience to, hey, I'm just looking, let's say I've got a Corvette and I need a sports car tire. So I click on performance, and now I'm going to bring up the screenshot that shows the comparison that we designed. And you'll notice that it's completely different. So now this is a good, better, best. And we've changed all the ratings to be 1 through 10. So everything is apples to apples. And then as I scroll down the compare a little bit down at the bottom, we've added some additional things like, is it on sale? Does it have a warranty? Is there a rebate? And then a couple really important things we allow them to remove. So as they whittle it down, if they go and see, well, crap, these 3 out of these 5 tires have a rebate, I'm just going to whittle the other 2 out and save some money. We allow them to very easily in the comparison tool remove items so they can whittle it down to finally make a choice. So the comparison engine can really control that user experience, but you have to, Chris kind of alluded to, you have to kind of, they don't even know that it's there half the time. You
Right.
have to walk them through that. And then the tool has to provide that value to help them make a decision, because that's really all you're trying to do. Trying to help them move down that funnel towards a purchase. So if the tool isn't helpful in doing that, if all the tool does is show, oh, here's how much it weighs and here's how big it is, that doesn't really help me unless I'm looking specifically for a desk that can fit so and so. But then usually when they're looking at the product, they're doing that. The only time that would be really helpful is if they're like, hey, I really love these 3 desks. I need to find one that fits. So they pick those 3. And then when they go to compare, they look at the dimensions and make sure it can fit. But you really have to look, and Chris alluded to some of the attributes that are really important: ratings, price, potentially shipping. Is there a warranty? Is there a rebate? He mentioned lead time, right? If it's a made to manufacture part, if they can get one. I know in the day now of Prime, right? Half the time I literally go to Amazon, click on Prime, because if I know I can get it in 1 or 2 days, I'm not even going to bother with all the other stuff, right? So
Right.
we're so impatient these days because we're getting so efficient in commerce that it's training us to be impatient, right?
That's right.
So, what are your thoughts on all that?
I think that was great. And I would say, I think you hit on this and showed this in the screen. So just to reaffirm the ability to interact with that data, possibly even adding or removing attributes for more, power users, if you will, but
Right,
making it intuitive and simple, and then being able to then add to the cart. And generally speaking, this is something that will have some variability based on your audience. And we really encourage you to work with a team that has the ability to set this up and get the, 95% of the results with an off the shelf scenario, and then be able to get the last mile without having an extreme amount of customization and extra work. Um, that's certainly something that the reason that we built our own e-commerce platform. So we know that it's possible to find a solution like that, not just for comparison, but to compare ourselves to other platforms for all of the customization that you might need.
right.
Feel free to reach out to us if you have questions or want to discuss what your project is, and just get more insight into what a good solution might look like with our no sales discovery process. Other than that, we really appreciate you watching today. We hope it was helpful, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks again, and bye for now.
Bye for now.